Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. Dan Casper here with you as always. Day one of the illegal tampering, or whatever the hell they're calling it in the books for NFL free agency, legal negotiating period, whatever we're calling it. And holy crap, did it come in like a lion. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, signing a massive deal, 4 years, $180 million, $50 million, buckaroos guaranteed. You got Christian Wilkins going to the Raiders and such. So you had a lot of movements. You got trades, Brian Burns going to the Giants and such. So a lot of stuff happened yesterday. A lot of stuff happened in the first day of this legal negotiating period. Now, nothing's officially official until tomorrow, Wednesday, when the league year opens. But nonetheless, we got a few things to chat about here, especially when it comes to the Packers, the green and gold. So let's kind of rewind it and go in order of how the events kind of started for Monday. So first things first, it happened that David Bakhtiari released. Was announced later on officially by the Packers, but David Bakhtiari went on social media to thank fans and the Packers and Green Bay and such. But not a big surprise by any means. I don't think it came as a shock to anybody. I think maybe the only shock-ish thing about it is the timing. Is the timing of it. And what I mean by the timing of it is I think it just kind of maybe surprised a little people that it took this long. But again, he wasn't due a roster bonus. He wasn't, there wasn't anything where they had to be forced to release him a little bit earlier on. I know I mentioned in the previous episode, maybe, you kind of give him a head start to go out there in free agency and such. But nonetheless, it is what it is. They released David Bakhtiari. And David Bakhtiari, just to kind of recap it all, what a crappy way to end his Packers tenure. And what I mean by that is just him getting hurt in 2020 at the end of the season in practice, tearing his ACL. I still believe if he's healthy, and they beat the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game, and I honestly feel like they beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl because if you remember, the Chiefs, their tackles were hurt. They weren't playing that game. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life, and I think Zadarius and Preston Smith have their way against Patrick Mahomes and such. So I think the Packers win that Super Bowl. But again, this is another example of not every injury is the same. How many people have we seen recover quickly or well from ACLs? And David's just never did. It never did. It just continues to have issues with it. So, and I feel like that derailed the path that he was on to win a gold jacket or to get a gold jacket, to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really feel like he was on that path. 5-time All-Pro. He's got more All-Pros than Pro Bowls, which, again, just shows you the lack of credibility when it comes to Pro Bowls now these days. But 5-time All-Pro. And I really feel like he'd be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame if he would have played healthy these last couple of years. I think we all assume he's going to go to the Jets. The thing is, wherever Bakhtiari goes, teams are going to put him through a bunch of tests. They're going to want to see imaging. They're going to want to go, through the history of everything. And I got to imagine there's going to be a lot of incentives within that contract, playtime incentives specifically. So I think we all assume he's going to go to the Jets. That's probably number one. They have a need, and, Aaron Rodgers is over there. But you got to imagine there's going to be a lot of incentives in that contract, playtime incentives over there. But with his Packers tenure, I think one of the best offensive linemen, perhaps even the best left tackle to play in Packers history. I believe that. That was a man that when he was on that blind side, you, as a quarterback, you didn't have to worry, especially as a right-handed quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, you didn't have to worry about David over there. Remember, this was a 4th round, 5th round draft pick. And he got the starting spot right away in his rookie year because Brian Bulaga was getting converted to left tackle. And Bakhtiari had to come in and play. That was 2013. And remember, there was even talks about Bakhtiari. Is he better suited for guard? They were talking about switching him to guard. Dude ends up coming in and being at the peak of his career, at the prime of his career, one of the best, if not the best, left tackles in the game. So it sucks to see his Packers career end the way it did because of injury, but man, what a left tackle he was. What a stud. So it started off that day, the day started off with that. And then shortly after that, we find out that Josh Jacobs is coming to Green Bay. Now, I wasn't too shocked that the Packers brought in a running back because we've talked about it before. Go back to last year, training camp. Apparently they were interested in Jonathan Taylor, reached out to the Colts to gauge trade interest. Then we heard from Jay Glazer to trade deadline that they inquired about Saquon Barkley. Kind of, a little bit bigger running backs there, right? So Saquon was a free agent. You kind of like, okay, would they inquire about Saquon this time? Maybe looking at running back to pair up with Aaron Jones. And so we heard the news. Josh Jacobs is coming. It's like, holy blank. You know what? You're like, wow. Like, really? They did this? You're pumped. We're pumped. Like, I was like, oh, hell yes. Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs paired together in that backfield, they are going to benefit each other so much. So much. And then there was this other thought in our mind. It's like, okay, but Aaron is staying, right? Jonesy's staying. Kept hearing that the Packers were trying to rework a deal and lower that cap hit and such, but nothing was official, and we're just like, we're pumped thinking about the top duo in the NFL perhaps, but I don't know, maybe I was the only one, but there was like this little thought in my mind too. It's like, Jones is staying, right? Right? You know, you're kind of waiting for the news to pop that they've worked a restructured deal with Aaron Jones. Lo and behold, though, it was Aaron Jones being cut, being released. And I think that sent shockwaves throughout the entire Packers nation, considering it wasn't that long ago when you had the general manager, Brian Gutekunst, saying that absolutely expected Aaron Jones to be back. And now, you got reports, you've got rumors kind of swirling around why this happened and this, that, the other thing, report that the Packers wanted him to take a significant pay cut, about 50% was the Athletic was reporting. Rob Domofsky, who we've had on the show numerous times and such, he's got a piece out there too where Packers originally thought that Jones was going to take that, but then, even just this past weekend, weren't going to be players in the running back market, it sounded like. But then that's changed really quick after they found out Jones wasn't going to take a pay cut. And I guess what the Packers kind of do too is, like, if that last offer, they offer that player, they decline it, the Packers rescind that offer, so they can't come back and take it after the Packers may have made a move elsewhere. So after it became evident that Aaron Jones wasn't going to take that pay cut, they decided to get on the Josh Jacobs train. And when you go back to Goody's comments, at the Combine, he talked about the need of getting a bigger back to play in the elements at Lambeau Field, to play, that style. And he admitted Aaron Jones is not that running back. He wanted a little bit of a bigger running back. And you can kind of say or see that's why they drafted A.J. Dillon a few years ago and had high hopes for him, especially after the first couple of years. But now they get it back, and Jacobs, who's bigger, was the rushing champion in 2022. A little bit, numbers were down last year. I take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, though, because look at just how piss poor the offense was with Josh McDaniels. I mean, there was just nothing working over there. When you got Devontae and such and trying to figure out your quarterback situation, there was nothing working with that offense. So I take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But before I hopped on to record this pot, I was listening to Dan Orlovsky from Get Up on ESPN there, and I thought he made a couple great points about Josh Jacobs teaming up with the Packers. One, Josh Jacobs is a bell cow. He's going to be the guy that's going to give you a ton of carries. And I thought the interesting part, the biggest thing I took away was We know this Packers offense, Matt LaFleur, Shanahan style, they've got looks. They'll give you looks, certain packages, certain formations, but multiple plays can run out of that same look. Now you've got Josh Jacobs into this equation. There's going to be less mixing and matching with your running backs like there were with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon because you have a running back like Josh Jacobs. I thought that was a great point. And maybe kind of, I'll be honest with you, it didn't hit my mind right away. I thought that was a great point because that fits what Matt LaFleur wants to do with this offense. Give the defense the same look, but try to confuse them because you don't know which play is coming out of that look. Trying to make it more confusing on a defense. Try not to tip your hand on what that play is going to be. Having a running back like a Josh Jacobs makes it more confusing on the defense to try to diagnose what's coming, what play is coming. So, thought that was a great point. And we know he's a bruising running back and such there too. The other point he made, in 2022, when he rushed for over 1,600 yards, 1,000 of those yards came on first down alone. Think about that. 1,000 yards on first down. This dude, when we all knew, like, teams line up for it, it's like, you got to stop him, right? You couldn't on first down. That opens up the playbook so much on first down now for the Packers in this offense. We know the Packers love to do play action. We've seen the young perimeter talent and tight ends they have. This is just going to make this offense more dangerous for defenses and more frustrating for defenses because they're going to be able to do a lot more different things within that playbook. And this is not a diss on Aaron Jones by any means because they did a lot of great things with Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones did a lot of great things. And this is not a knock on him whatsoever. But I think it gives you a little bit more of an element, a little bit more of some stuff that you can do within this offense. And you could do, Aaron Jones was heavily involved in the passing game and in the running game and such. But, you maybe with him on a short situation, you're wondering, okay, can he, is he built to pick up that short yardage and stuff, kind of a grind it out sort of thing? There's those arguments out there. But I think with a guy with like Jacobs, you have the ability to have a little bit of a power run game that they had with A.J. Dillon or wanted to have with A.J. Dillon. And you're able to have a little bit of a outside zone or outside the tackle running game too, kind of like Aaron Jones. You don't have to do that mixing and matching now with Jacobs. And that's not to say they're not going to get another running back. They need another running back, whether it's going to be in free agency, in the draft. I think it'll come in the draft. But nonetheless, I think it allows Matt LaFleur to do a couple of new things within this offense. So, Jacobs signing. And then you find out Aaron Jones is released. And again, Aaron Jones is one of my favorite players of all time. I love Aaron Jones. I'm bummed because I just got an Aaron Jones jersey. By the way, I'm never, ever, 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 ever getting a jersey again. I probably will, but right now I'm never, ever, ever getting another jersey again. One of my favorite players of all time. I've been lucky to be able to interview him a couple times. The first time was at the Super Bowl after his rookie year. Everything you hear about him, everything you read about him or you see, it's 100% true. Answers questions, yes, sir, no, sir. Polite. Just treats everybody with respect, and that comes from his military background. But a couple things that will always stand out to me about Aaron Jones was just the natural leadership that you could tell that came from him. A lot of times when we talk about leadership, this person's got to lead, this person's got to step up. Sometimes we see it, or forced leadership, and it just doesn't feel right or it doesn't resonate. Aaron Jones had natural leadership. Couple of moments that stand out to me. A couple years ago, minicamp OTAs. Veterans, a lot of times get excused at the end, day off. Aaron Jones didn't do that. He stayed with the young guys, with the rookies, with guys making it on a team. He practiced with them. He didn't have to. This is a guy who was established, was getting paid, was their top running back. Maybe the coaches didn't want him out there to get hurt, but he was out there with those young guys, leading. With the Aaron Rodgers thing, he was like the first to back up Jordan Love. Yes, Aaron Jones was out there saying, I want Aaron Rodgers back in that, but if it's not, we got Jordan Love's back. He played it perfectly. But when it was official that it was Jordan Love, Aaron Jones was all about Jordan Love. He went out to Cali, worked out with him. And then this year, with the growing pains of this team, Aaron Jones was a vocal leader in the media, in the locker room. Everybody knows that clip. That's probably all over the internet right now, that Rams game. I think it was Dontavian Wicks who fumbled. And the cameras caught him walking off, head down. All of a sudden, Aaron Jones pops up, lifts the kid's head up. Leadership like that. And then you had Jayden Reed. After the Cowboys playoff game, Mike's caught him saying, you inspire me to be great. You inspire me to play well. I want to play well because of you. He had this effect on the rookies and these young guys in that locker room. Say it was on the offense, but different position. Like he inspired those guys to want to play well to play great. And one other thing I think on those two, like you want to talk about, he was a guy that carried the G, represented the Packer G. You hear fans talk about that, representing the team, carrying that G. That was Aaron Jones. But there's one thing too, if you've ever gone to a Packers training camp, or if you haven't, we know about the bike tradition. Players riding the bikes to practice. And a lot of times when you got an established guy who's got a big contract, one of the star players, veteran, they stop riding bikes. And I get it. Aaron Jones didn't do that. Aaron Jones was even doing it this past offseason. Crowded with kids flooding to him, still rode the bike. Jair does the same thing, but Aaron Jones still did it. It stinks that he's going to Minnesota, going across the border and such. It stinks. But Aaron Jones is a guy that I think I've got no problem rooting for, except for when he plays Green Bay. Easily one of my favorite players of all time. So yesterday's news and we got the other free agent coming up. It was a wild case of emotions of like excitement, confusion, sadness, all in one. I went through all the emotions. And it would have been it was a good day, but it would have been like just a freaking awesome day if Aaron Jones was still on his team. And I know that it's not, I get it from a business standpoint. I understand it from a money standpoint. It just stinks as a fan to see one of your favorite players or one of the guys that was easily the leaders of this team, loved being a Packer, having to be released. And for what it's worth, if that rumor is out there where the Packers wanted a 50% pay cut, $12 million. He was going to earn $12 million. The cap hit was like 17 something, but he was going to earn $12 million. Packers wanted it down to $6 million. He goes out there then. He gets $7 million, 1 year, $7 million from the Vikings. Packers were pretty close on what his market value was. Just going to throw that out there too. Packers were pretty close. Pretty darn close. So they weren't completely off. But, again, Aaron Jones took a pay cut the year prior. Helped out the team the year prior. Probably didn't want to take another big one in year 2. So after everybody's down and, hurt, disappointed, that sort of stuff about Aaron Jones like I was, like I still kind of am bummed out thinking Aaron Jones isn't going to be on that field. Out pops the news that the Packers signed Xavier McKinney. I think if you polled Packers fans before free agency to say who is the number one guy, regardless of money, but who is the number one player that you want this team to go out there and get, I really believe the number one pick would have been Xavier McKinney. Because we all know safety was probably the biggest need of this team. And Xavier McKinney was probably for a majority, not everybody, but for a majority of people out there, the number one safety. And the Packers went out there and got him. They got him. They spent a lot of money on him. He's the third highest paid safety in terms of average annual salary. We'll get more details of the contract as it comes out there. But the Packers paid a lot to get him. And I can't remember of another player. Maybe it was like a Zadarius and Preston and such. But a guy who was at the top of a position group and a guy that a majority of Packers fans really wished for, really wanted, and the Packers actually got him. I can't remember the last time that actually happened. I'm sure it has, but it seems like it's been a hot minute. Maybe Zadarius and Preston were at the top of the list for some people that year in 19, but like clear-cut, McKinney was like probably 80, 90, 95% on the top of the list for a lot of Packers fans. And they got him. And that is such a huge move for this defense. To bring in that safety with Jeff Hafley's defense that he wants to bring in. We can go through the Pro Football Focus numbers throughout all the stats. Number 1 in coverage from a free safety position. No touchdowns allowed. Quarterback rating from a free safety position, it's like in the high 40s, low 50s. Dude's a baller. You hear Jeff Hafley a couple weeks ago, he wants a safety that goes sideline to sideline, plays with his hair on fire, helping out in the run game, helping out in the pass game. Xavier McKinney's that. And, he played for Derek Ansley, the pass game coordinator for the Packers defense. Played for him at Alabama. That was his position coach. Familiarity there. Huge signing by Green Bay. Big-time signing from Green Bay. And he's only 24 years old. Only 24 years old, too. They got their safety, their guy for the back end. Big-time pickup. Huge pickup for the Packers. Now, hopefully he plays up to that expectation and continues to get better as he's entering his prime here. We all know that we don't know if it's all going to work out until they actually get on the field, but no doubt about it, they filled a big hole with one of the best players available at that position. So Packers, they lose Aaron Jones. We knew they lost Devondre Campbell. They released him the day earlier. And Bakhtiari, I think we all expected that was going to happen. But they bring in, and of course Darnell Savage, we knew that he probably wasn't coming back. John Runyon gets a big deal with the Giants. Probably knew he wasn't coming back. But they bring in Xavier McKinney, and they bring in Josh Jacobs. This team got better, on paper at least. They got better. And say what you want about the Jacobs and the Aaron Jones comparisons and such. Even if you take that one out, they got better because of the Xavier McKinney addition on defense. And what this allows the Packers to do now when they get to the draft is to be a little bit more flexible. They're able to be a little bit more flexible. I don't think they're done in free agency. Maybe they're done on high price free agents and such. But I think this provides the Packers more flexibility to add depth pieces now in the draft instead of really focusing on a need where it's like, oh crap, we don't have any safeties on our team. We got to get a safety early. I think they still need another safety, whether it comes from a veteran again or a draft pick, but it takes a little bit of that pressure off and allows them to be a little bit more flexible with some of their picks now, especially their higher picks. But for all the talk, too, about Goody, and Goody himself has said he's a Ted Thompson disciple and such and learned a lot. He did start off with Ron Wolf in Ron Wolf's later years and such. I think it's fair to say that Goody is not another Ted Thompson Packers fans. Ted Thompson, not that aggressive in free agency. I mean, he did bring in Charles Woodson and such, Julius Peppers and that. But when Brian Gutekunst has had money to spend, Goody has spent money. He has spent money. Not willy-nilly like the Saints are, where they're in like salary cap hell for how long and trying to just continue to kick the can down the road and that. They won't do that. But this is I would say he's kind of like in the middle between Ron and Ted. He's his own dude. He's his own man. And I'll tell you what, this guy's got some balls on him. He's got some cojones on him. He has made some really difficult decisions and non-fan favorite decisions over the years. It started off with releasing Jordy Nelson. You could say whether that was the right move or not. Looked like Jordy had another year or two in him. Then, like his predecessor, moving on, drafting a quarterback in the first round, moving on from your future Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback. releasing Aaron Jones, another fan favorite. This is a guy who, he's a Wisconsin kid, went to school in lacrosse and that. But this is a guy who doesn't obviously make decisions from the heart when it comes to this team, and he can't. We as fans, this is why we're not general managers, and I'm guilty of this too. I'd probably make a lot of decisions from the heart. He can't. And I know he said it about Aaron Jones, probably one of the most difficult decisions he's ever had to make. And I get that, and I understand that. Heart and soul of the team, leader in that. But this is a guy that also his job is to set up the Packers to win now and for the future. And he can't make those decisions with his heart all the time. He's got to go with his gut, got to go with his head. And this is a guy that he has made some bold decisions, some bold picks, and more times than not, he's gotten it right. So I think Goody deserves a lot of credit, and I think he deserves a lot of Packers fans' trust, our trust, because a lot of the moves he's made, a lot of the picks that he has made, they've more times than not have worked out. And this offseason now, when you bring in Jacobs, when you bring in Xavier McKinney, and you've got the picks that you currently have, the expectations now for this team got higher. They were high entering this offseason. The way this team finished the previous season, just a few plays away from the NFC Championship game and a shot to go to the Super Bowl, expectations heading in this year were high. That just got higher now. When you go out and have an offseason where you're spending on a running back and you're spending on a safety and you've got some nice picks, 5 in the top 100 coming in, expectations just got higher. Goals just got bigger. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is what you want if you are a fan of a team. You want high expectations. You want some big-time goals. Packers fans, buckle up, man. Here we go. Here we go. This is going to be, and we're not even done with the offseason. We're just beginning. But this is going to be, I think, something fun to watch for the next few years here. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Just wanted to do a quick recap of day one of legal negotiating period, whatever the hell we're calling it. I still want to call it legal tampering. I know some people say we can't do that, but whatever. I'm going to call it legal tampering. It's my life. I'll call it what I want it. So, but that's going to do it for this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. Hey, if you got a second, if you wouldn't mind giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review wherever you listen to your podcasts, so others can find the podcast. And don't forget to hit that follow and subscribe button. It's free, so you never miss another episode. Be a friend, tell a friend about the pod too. Let's spread the gospel of the Man Cave Podcast, if you know what I mean. Till next time, I'm Dan Casper. I will talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.